Okay. So, on behalf of MIET Innovation Institutions Council, I welcome Abhishek Rhisheekesan, who is founder, CEO of aiRender Technology Pvt Ltd. So I thank him for being part of this session, this creative session about customer discovery and the road to the product market fit. So with that, I will not come in between you and the audience, Abhishek. So please go ahead and present your ideas and share your great thoughts.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Abroad. Thanks a lot to respected HODs of the different departments at MIET, the faculty of MIET, the institution's Innovation Council, the students of and the students of MIET for joining my talk today, and especially my undergrad college batchmate and dear friend Professor Parveen Abrol for organizing this talk and providing me with the opportunity to address the academic fraternity at MIET.
Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you.
Thanks again, Parveen. So let me introduce myself. I have been in the computing hardware and software industry for close to 14 years and was heading the graphics architecture labs at Intel, leading a trailblazing team of close to 20 dynamic and self-driven folks. I have 3 patents to my credit on 3D graphics and GPU or general purpose GPU. And the team has more US patents in their kitty. I have 4 publications in some of the worldwide top 10 computer science conferences and IEEE and ACM journals. I was chairing the working group at Intel, driving the conceptualization, implementation, productization, and evangelizing of this Intel graphics performance analysis framework. So currently, I am the founder and CEO of aiRender, leading a vibrant team of 10 folks who are trying to build a 3D video conferencing product. We'll talk more about the product in a short while. aiRender is part of the startup incubation program called Venture Devils at Arizona State University in USA. And yeah, in the foil, you can see the company website link, airender.co.in, and our video conferencing web app is also ready. It's called Hi, and is available at this particular link, airender.co. Please sign up for our video conferencing web app and give it a try. Please see our, so below I have also given the YouTube channel for aiRender. Please see our 3D graphics tutorials and teasers of aiRender on the channel. If you like it, please subscribe and comment. So today we are going to talk about what's customer discovery and how it leads to product market fit. So before starting the journey of customer discovery, let's see the broader picture. Customer discovery is one of the steps involved in a broader process to build a successful startup called customer development. First of all, let's see what's a startup. Many of us think that it's kind of a smaller version of a big company, but it's important to recognize that it's not really a smaller version of a big company. It's a temporary organization. Rather, it's a temporary organization built to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. Customer development basically is the process to organize that sort of a search. Now, these definitions of startup and how it's not really a smaller version of a big company. These are findings from one of the pioneers who developed the customer development model. His name is Steve Blank. These concepts are basically described in his book, The Startup Owner's Manual. he busted a lot of myths about entrepreneurship as he went through the 4 steps to epiphany. That was his first book that he wrote after reflecting on his entrepreneurial journey after retirement, after founding or working at 9 different startups. I would say both the books, the Startup Owner's Manual and the 4 Steps to the Epiphany, these are must reads for an entrepreneur. Steve Blank teaches entrepreneurship at Stanford, UC Berkeley, Columbia, UCSF, NYU, and Imperial College. His Lean Launchpad class became the curriculum of National Science Foundation's Innovation Corps or ICORS program, and 98 universities now teach the class. He is one of the top influencers in Silicon Valley and for entrepreneurship, as attested by Harvard Business Review, Forbes, Wall Street Journal, IEEE Spectrum, Huffington Post, and several others. I would attribute most of the concepts I discuss here to Steve Blank and the customer development model he pioneered. So now let's see the 4 pillars of customer development model. These are customer discovery, customer validation, customer creation, and company building. Customer discovery first captures the founder's vision and turns it into a series of business model hypotheses. We'll discuss in a while what are these hypotheses. Then it develops a plan to test customer reactions to those hypotheses and turn them to facts. Customer validation tests whether the resulting business model is repeatable and scalable. If not, you return to customer discovery, which is the first step. Customer creation is the start of execution. It builds end user demand and drives it into the sales channel to scale the business. Company building transitions the organization from a startup to a company focused on executing a validated model. Now, the foundation of customer development lies in this simple advice from Steve Blank. Get out of the building. Nothing, pretty much no information related to potential customers, what they want, what issues they currently face, what solutions are they seeking, and in general, nothing related to customer development is kept inside the 4 walls of the buildings where you reside or where you work. You have to go out and talk to real potential customers to gather the data and work on it in an iterative manner through your journey through these 4 pillars or the 4 steps of the customer development model that we talked about in the last slide. Now, the first baby step in the customer development model is customer discovery. It involves stating your hypothesis, testing the problem, testing potential solution, and either pivoting or proceeding from there. We'll go through these steps in more detail in the coming files. Now, what are hypotheses? It's just a sophisticated name for guesses. Any startup journey starts with a mere set of guesses, some of them being a little bit educated guesses. For example, let's say if you are trying to build a video conferencing product, you may start with a guess that, okay, video conferencing is essential for success of a company in XYZ business vertical, let's say banking or a multinational IT company. And now you try to validate or invalidate this hypothesis. Typically, try to avoid universal truths or eternal truths while making a hypothesis, since the purpose of forming these hypotheses are to test and validate them and aid in this process of customer discovery. To succeed, founders need to turn these hypotheses or guesses into facts as soon as possible by getting out of the building, asking real potential customers if the hypotheses that we made are correct or not, and quickly changing those that were wrong. Now, let's see a few examples of hypotheses that I formed during my stint at customer discovery at aiRender. The first hypothesis was, for a video conferencing product, of course, productivity while working from home can be greater than in-office productivity if communication and collaboration can be improved. The second hypothesis goes like this. Video conferencing and collaboration tools have a major role to play in the coordination of work. The third one was video conferencing tools are used extensively to network with clients, vendors, investors, and at company events. And the fourth one was companies are thinking about partial work from home model through and post pandemic. Video conferencing and collaboration tools have a major role to play in restoring productivity back to normalcy during and post pandemic. So these were some of the hypotheses that our team and I had jotted down during my customer discovery during my stint at the customer discovery at aiRender, and we took it to real potential customers. We had a conversation. It's a free-flowing conversation, and you try to understand what jobs do they do, what sort of pains they face in achieving their goals and priorities, and what kind of gains do they seek while doing their jobs. I'll come to that and some of the tools that could be used in order to facilitate this conversation in a short while. In customer discovery, we are trying to find a problem solution fit, meaning you define the problem that you are trying to address and how you are going to address it. For example, the problem that we are trying to address at aiRender is to bridge the gap between regular video conferencing, regular 2D video conferencing, and real life face-to-face interactions in terms of conveying visual social cues like hand gestures, body language, your facial expressions, etc. The solution fit that we have proposed or hypothesized in is 3D video conferencing in thin air, which we are trying to validate through this customer discovery process. I'm going to talk about 3D video conferencing in a short while, so please hold your questions till then. But before going there, we have a prototype of 3D video conferencing, or MVP as it is called, which stands for minimum viable product. We'll showcase that in a short while. But through customer discovery process, we'll be basically building MVPs and iterating over it, and we'll be continuously seeking feedback from real potential customers through this customer discovery process. And the next step in the customer development model called customer validation. In customer discovery, we have to talk to different potential customer archetypes, different types of roles that they hold at your customer organizations or customer companies, like decision makers, end users, influencers, recommenders, economic buyers, and suboutiers. We'll see these archetypes, customer archetypes, in detail in the next slide. Here is my experience with customer discovery process. I have talked to close to 100 industry stalwarts, and these are founders, CEOs, CXOs, VPs, directors, senior managers, and employees, and they map to different customer archetypes that we saw in the last slide, like decision makers, there are recommenders, those who influence the selling process of your product, etc. So these folks are from multiple industry verticals like IT, healthcare, education, banking, computing hardware and software vendors, defense, FMCGs, e-commerce, travel, hospitality, telecom, social media, electronic system design manufacturing, banking and financial sector, consulting, media, entertainment and gaming, real estate, oil and gas, aviation, food and beverage services, retail chains, etc. There are large-scale enterprises, medium-scale enterprises, and growth-stage startups in this mix. And we captured certain trends based on their feedbacks through this customer discovery process, and some of our hypotheses were validated and some were invalidated. After talking to, among this 100 odd folks, after talking to 40 to 50 odd people on the hypothesis related to video conferencing in general, we switched gears to dig deeper on the trends that we captured based on their feedback and identified certain categories of customers who would be potentially a better fit for the problem we are trying to solve. And in essence, we reached a problem solution fit to some extent. Remember, this is an iterative process, and sometimes you may have to revisit the customer discovery process again, even if you go to the next steps of the customer development model, like customer validation and all. Now, here are some of the tools that we use to aid in the customer discovery process. BMC, or Business Model Canvas. To start with, we fill up these 9 boxes in the BMC chart with our hypothesis of value propositions. What value is your proposed solution or product trying to offer? Customer segments. Which customer segments are you targeting? Channels. How do you plan to reach your customers? Key partners. Who are your key partners, or who do you form joint ventures or collaborations with in order to transform your solutions into products or to sell them? Key activities. What kind of engineering, marketing, or sales activities are you undertaking in order to make and sell your product? Cost structure. What sort of costs are involved in building, marketing, and selling your product? Revenue streams. Through what streams are you expecting your revenue? Or in other words, how do you plan to generate and collect your revenue? Now, you see these 4 orange boxes on the top right and middle section. These are mapped to desirability. Do customers really want it? The 2 boxes at the bottom, the cost structure and the revenue streams, they cover viability. What's your product or solution worth? The 3 boxes on the left, top left, these are indicators of feasibility. Can we deliver this product? Now, to heck with the theory on BMC, I'm sure all of you would be excited to see that in action. Let's pick up a case study of the BMC that Uber founders proposed during their initial days of customer discovery as an illustration. As you can see in the customer segments on the top right, there are 2 customer segments for Uber, which is basically an app which connects passengers and drivers, cab drivers. Their key value propositions, as you can see in the middle, these are taxi on demand, easy to order cab, and short wait time for passengers. And passengers on demand and easy to make additional money for cab drivers. Similarly, you can see how rest of the boxes are filled here. The BMC goes through several iterations from launch of startup through customer discovery process and other steps of customer development until your company or startup really takes off and establishes a sustainable, repeatable, and scalable business model. Sometimes the BMC goes through pivots or takes major changes in terms of directions based on whether some of your major hypotheses get invalidated or not. Now, another major tool we use for customer discovery is VPC, or Value Proposition Canvas. For each customer archetypes or customer segments that we are trying to address, that we went through in the prior slides, we try to form the stuff mentioned on the right side of the VPC. That's the hypothesis of your potential customers, like their jobs, which consists of their major priorities, deliverables, responsibilities, etc., to achieve their job goals. Their pains, issues or pains faced by these potential customers in achieving these job goals or priorities. Gains. What kind of gains are they looking for while getting their jobs done or in achieving their goals and priorities at their job? Then we map these customer jobs, pains, and gains to the stuff that you see on the left side of the VPC, like the products and services you are planning to offer and their value propositions in terms of pain relievers and gain creators. Now, again, enough of theory on VPC. Let's dive into the example of Uber passengers. For Uber passengers, as shown on the right side of the VPC, their jobs or priorities are on-demand availability of cabs and varieties of cab services like sharing a ride with someone or getting a SUV for an intercity trip or versus an Innova for an airport ride or versus an Indica for a trip from your home to office. Their usual pains are processing time taken to book a cab, make the payment, giving directions to the cab driver, or the high costs involved in a cab journey, or their security going for a cab ride at night, for example. The gains that they seek are faster cab service, availability of cabs at any time, etc. Now, on the left side of the VPC, Uber's products and services include on-demand cabs, efficient cab rides, one-tap ride using their app, or ride-share facilities. Their app's pain relievers are cheaper rides, cashless transactions, hassle-free processing of payment, and reliability of cab rides for the passenger. Uber's gain creators are shorter wait times for catching a cab, lower prices than usual taxis, and on-demand cab availability. From customer discovery, we move on to the next step in customer development model, which is customer validation. Here, we form the product market fit. This involves getting ready to sell, selling to early evangelists, developing positioning of your product, and pivoting or proceeding. Here, we are taking in the inputs from the customer discovery process, and we are trying to validate it by first getting ready to sell, by preparing the necessary sales material, by building a high fidelity MVP. It's more a more fine-tuned version of the MVP outcome coming from the customer discovery stage, which was the prior stage. And by trying to do early sales of this high fidelity MVP of your product to early evangelists or early adopters. In this process, we develop the positioning of the product by gathering further data from the early adopters to validate your business model, your financial model, and then decide whether to pivot or proceed to the next step of the customer development model. We'll talk more about this in a future session once I go through this cycle. Currently, I have only gone through the customer discovery process. Our 3D video conferencing MVP is just out of the customer discovery oven, and we are making inroads in sales to early adopters or early evangelists as we speak. Early evangelists are happy to pay for early access to your product, and they are willing to take a bet on your product, even when it's at its nascent stage. Explore the functionalities, use it extensively, they will provide feedback to you, and they will spread the word to other potential customers. Now, let's talk about entrepreneurship and my journey so far, taking a plunge into the world of entrepreneurship. As an entrepreneur, we should always start with why. There is a good book on this called Start With Why by Simon Sinek. Why do you want to do this entrepreneurship? It should be clear in your head, and you should be able to convey this in a clear and lucid manner, be it to your customers, your investors, employees, and in your outreach programs. After why, then comes what and how. What product are you building? How do you plan to build it? I'll talk more about the why, what, and how of aiRender, our company, in the following foils in a short while. So first of all, let's get into the why of aiRender and my motivation behind starting it. So let's imagine a world where you can see the person you are talking to in your room in thin air, wherever they are. So while working at my previous company, Intel, in my video conference meetings with counterparts in other geographies, I felt a general lack of trust. These folks are located in different parts of the world like US, Poland, Israel, China, etc. Once we travel and meet your colleagues in these different countries, the level of trust builds up and they start working with you quite seamlessly. For example, think about Professor, our Parveen Abrol taking classes for you in thin air in your drawing room as a walking live 3D projection, as in like one-to-one tutoring. Or let's say if you can interact with your batchmates on a project with the project model in front of you, along with your batchmates as live 3D projections, let's say either in your courtyard or in your study room. 2D video conferencing is not an effective replacement for in-person meetings. More than half the message interpretation is from body language, facial expressions, and gestures, hand gestures, as per different studies conducted as noted here. And 2D video conferencing is known to reduce these visual social cues significantly. Now, what's the solution to bridge this gap between the regular 2D video conferencing and face-to-face live interactions? aiRender is basically building an AI-based real-time live streaming in thin air 3D video conferencing software solution. We call it High 3D Meeting, and this is for greater reality. Here is the demo for a work from home scenario.
The presenter's holographic projection can be lucidly seen from the comfort of your home while working remotely. The 3D meeting solution enables 3D virtual presence of work from home participants in the company conference room.
Okay, and so here is the secret sauce behind our product. As you can see on the left, 2D videos of video conferencing participants are captured using cameras associated with devices like mobile phone, an AR/VR headset, laptop, tablets, etc. And the 2D image frames in the captured video stream are converted on a real-time basis to lifelike 3D graphics models using our AI engine called, or artificial intelligence engine called AirBrain. And this is done on cloud infrastructure with GPU systems and all. Now the 3D graphic streams of video conferencing participants are displayed in thin air using holographic displays or similar displays on AR/VR headsets, as you can see on the right. Now, existing technologies in this area cannot be easily adapted to holographic displays, other OSs and hardware, and is quite expensive. Our solution overcomes all these deficiencies, and our 3D compression technologies make it possible even in today's mobile data and broadband networks. Also, our product will benefit from tailwinds like mass adoption of 5G and Wi-Fi 6 technologies in 2021 and 2022. With better network bandwidth for transferring those compressed 3D models that I was talking about. Now, as you can see, the participant at home can wear VR headsets or use integrated 3D holographic projectors on their laptops to view live streaming 3D projection of the presenter at office. This presenter is actually located in the office, And these are people who are working from home, and they can view the presenter. So either through the AR/VR headsets or holographic projectors that are going to be introduced to your laptops and mobile phones. Or the work from home participants, as you can see on the bottom, can be shown in office conference room using 3D holographic projectors. Now you can see some of the applications, the 3D applications of our 3D video conferencing app in action here. On the left top, you can see telemedicine, which is consultation of doctors and patients. On the right top, you can see online tutoring and online classes, which you guys are quite familiar with, but done in a 3D world. On the left bottom, you can see sales presentations, and on the right bottom, you can see people taking interviews in a 3D immersive world, where both the participants are projected onto the chairs on a table in thin air using our 3D video conferencing application. Now, to provide a sneak peek into how much we have progressed so far, we have a prototype of the underlying AI engine AirBrain ready, which converts 2D images of human faces to 3D face models. You can see my face image on the left and the corresponding 3D model, static 3D model. And in the middle, you can see a 5-second video snippet of one of our teammates, which has been converted to the corresponding 3D rendering video using neural network and machine learning algorithms. And these are rendered using an open source 3D rendering framework. As shown in the video on the left bottom here, we have a working high 2D video conferencing app. This is a precursor to the 3D version. Parveen, can you see the?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me rewind it and play it again.
Right.
The teaser is visible, right?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. Thanks a lot, students, for attending and finding time for this. And thanks again, Parveen, for organizing this talk.
Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. All right. Thank you. Thank you, all students. Thank you for being attentive and listening to the session.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye. Bye, all of you. Bye, sir.